Hello and welcome to 3 Minute Gaming. I'm Nathan, and today I'm going to tell you if this game's worth your time and bandwidth.
Today's game is Hades. Blending Greek mythology with a roguelike, Hades won basically all the awards. So with its sequel in early access, does Hades 1 still hold up? Let's find out. Hades is an isometric action roguelike with an emphasis on using its roguelike elements to tell its story of Greek mythology. You play as Zagreus, son of Hades, only ever mentioned in a single line in ancient Greek poetry. Trapped in the underworld, he learns that Persephone, his mother, is on the surface, so he's off to fight his way through 4 levels of hell to get to her. While the story is simple, as a surprising reverence for Greek myth and tweaking well-known fables into compelling modern storytelling. For being honest, Greek mythology is already pretty fluid due to things like regional differences and recording methods, but Hades tries to wrap both the well-known and obscure into its excellent dialogue. The game's story also meshes well with the gameplay. It's a roguelike, with you failing escape attempts often while attempting to get out, a fact that the game's characters will point out often. The loop itself is isometric combat. You'll don one of 6 weapons, each of which has 4 aspects or variants, and head off to murder stuff. You have a basic attack, a special, and a magic projectile that has to be recovered, as well as a dash and ultimate should you unlock it. Speaking of unlocking, that's the real fun of Hades. Zag's relatives on Olympus really want to help him out, and will give him a variety of powers to augment his various moves. Dionysus will make your attacks poison, while Aphrodite may make enemies weaker. As you progress, you'll find a near endless number of combos, with some powers actually fusing God's strengths as they'll collaborate together to work with you. Outside of the fast-paced combat, you'll hang around the underworld hub, where you can pay for permanent upgrades from many of the insane number of currencies you'll acquire, give nectar and ambrosia to make friends and advance the story, or just pimp the place out. There's a ton of side stories running parallel to the main ones, like helping Achilles find his long-lost boyfriend, inspire Orpheus to sing again, and more. And really, that's Hades. It's a roguelike which incorporates its story into the game mechanics, paired with gorgeous visuals and an absurd amount of polish. So what did I like about Hades? Well, I adored this game's writing. As a big Greek mythology nerd, basically every time one of the gods pops up to yak about something, there would be a subtle reference or wink towards a mythological story, and the characters and voice acting are fantastically realized. Additionally, this game just looks gorgeous. The gameplay itself is the usual supergiant stealth shading, which looks great, but it's the character art that really blew me away, blending mythology with modern to present the characters in an exaggerated but recognizable style. And lastly, the combat is exhilarating, and builds here make each run feel fantastic. You know that roguelike feeling where you say, wow, I'll never get a combo this good ever again? Well, in Hades, you get that combo more often than you'd think, which makes you feel like, well, an actual god. When it comes to the bad, the game only has 4 zones, and while they do mix up bosses slightly, and you can also add modifiers to bump up the difficulty, it doesn't change the fact that you get kind of tired of seeing the same place over and over. Additionally, the powers are still weirdly imbalanced, which I assume is intentional, but there are some that are just far and away better than others. I am convinced that the Athena Reflect dodge is the most powerful dodge modifier in the game, and no one can convince me otherwise. And lastly, while build crafting is fantastic, the combat's depth doesn't really evolve, even with the large weapon roster and powers. For a lot of weapons, you can just dash attack and kill 80% of the game. As you know, I rate games on a 3-point scale, must play, maybe consider, and don't bother, and I really just can't say enough good things about Hades. As someone who got in on early access, I loved it then, and I still love it now. It blends gameplay and story in ways I absolutely love. The art's gorgeous, the writing's phenomenal, the combat loop is addicting, and the polish is on an entirely different level. While it does get a bit grindy to get its true ending, and I definitely got tired of seeing the same zones over and over, that isn't enough for me to not recommend everybody check it out. Grab your feta cheese and olive oil, it's time to Greek out of hell. And that's all I got for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Have you played Hades? Has anyone not played Hades? Let's be real. Let me know what you think of it in the comments, and regardless, go out there and make sure you give it a look.